Welcome to Money Law, everybody. My name is Yaasha, and today we're going to be talking about the new lawsuit that came out against Lyft and Uber and the gig economy at large. The law in California has changed officially where it's called AB 15, but that doesn't matter. What you need to know is now, whether you're a contractor or an employee, there is an ABC test. So the first thing we've got to figure out is, what is the gig economy anyways? The gig economy, there's so many definitions, but the short and simple is you need a job today, and you can just pick up and start working for one of the many platforms that offer jobs and have work for you to do. You don't have to apply, you don't have to become an employee, no signing little documents, you just get paid and you pay your taxes at the end of the year. The company that's hiring you as the gig worker isn't worried about covering any taxes like that. Why is that so huge? Because it means our economy, our workforce is flexible. You can get a job like that. COVID happened, 20 million people lost their jobs. You better know it. They just got into their car, started driving for Uber, started driving for Lyft, started delivering for GitHub, DoorDash, Instacart, Postmates. I have so many startups that I can list for you that have a platform of delivery or service, even TaskRabbit. Those are all gig economy jobs where someone says, I need service, and there's someone on the other end of the platform, the worker, who can deliver that service fast, and they're not beholden to working for the company full time. So they can totally run their own schedule and their own lives and build their lives around that kind of work. That is what is under attack right now. That is what the government is saying, that these workers are working, and we believe they're working full time as employees, and these companies, they need to start paying their employment tax. They need to pay the unemployment tax. They need to pay the Social Security, the healthcare taxes, all of that stuff that comes with hiring an employee. To the gig workers, there are some gig workers that say, you know what, I'm doing this full time now and I have no insurance. I have no protection. If this platform or if this company shuts down, remember, most of them are still startups. If they shut down, I don't qualify for unemployment insurance. So there is a vulnerable population that relies on these gig jobs and don't have any protections whatsoever. What happens if you're driving for Uber and you get in a car accident, right? What happens if you're driving for Uber and you don't have someone in your car that you're riding, and then you get in a car accident? You have to pay through your own insurance. Uber only covers you in insurance when you have someone in your car that is actually riding on an Uber trip. But the in-between, you don't really have that much protection. Same thing for all the other platforms. What happens if you are at TaskRabbit and you're helping someone build their IKEA shelves, and the shelf falls down on you and you get injured or break your arm? Maybe TaskRabbit offers an insurance policy. The state government has started creating regulations where these platforms have to offer insurance policies for the customers as well as the drivers or the workers, but that doesn't cover all their bases. So here we are today. We have a new law in California and a new test. The one thing us lawyers love to do is test everybody. The new test is called the ABC test. What does that stand for? In gist, the ABC test is like this. First, in order for you to be identified as a contractor in the state of California, you must be independent. So if someone employs you, they can't have any control over how you do your job. So independence from you, less control from the employer. The second aspect of that is this must be a gig or a role that traditionally isn't part of the employer's business. So that gets a little convoluted, and trust me, the ABC test, it's very hard these days to call yourself as a contractor. We'll talk about why. But if I was gonna hire a contractor, let's say, like most small businesses, I need help with my marketing. So I hire a team of marketers. Are they my employees or are they contractors, AKA vendors that I pay and they do the work for me? Well, I'm a lawyer, I have a law firm, I have a law office. That is not a traditional role, and it's not a traditional part of my business to do marketing. It's an important part of my business, but traditionally, I don't do marketing services. So if I hire someone to do marketing for me, I meet the B part of that test. That person is independent. right? I don't control how they do marketing for me. I just say to them, do marketing. Here's my money. Here's a little bit of direction for what I want to see from my brand. But they have all the control on how they execute that. And it is not a traditional part of my business. The C test, this one is a little bit harder. This one's actually a lot harder, and you will be surprised why. The person that's hired, they have to traditionally offer that service that they're offering me to others. So this is where it gets very sticky for most employers. You hire someone as a contractor, sure, you let them work from home, you let them use their own computer so they have their freedom, their autonomy, their schedule, and maybe they are doing something, an administrative task, a marketing task, something that's not traditionally related to your business. But here's the rub. If they are only working for you most of their time and they don't have their own actual business doing that same marketing, since that's the example I used earlier, they're not doing marketing for other people, they're just doing it all for you, there's a chance the government will say, or they can say, I'm not a contractor. Yaasha, you should have hired me as an employee. So this is what's getting all the employers in California very scared. Because over the years, because of the likes of Uber and Lyft that have strengthened the use of independent contractors, a lot of businesses across the market are starting to use contractors. And now a huge lawsuit just came down. By the way, this law has been in place for a good amount of time. So why is it just now that it's becoming a big deal? Because finally, a very big company that is full of nothing but contractors got sued for it and lost. They're currently still going through a court battle. They're going to appeal the decision, but the judge basically gave them to the end of this month to convert all their contractors to employees, all the way to the point where it's making national headlines, and you're hearing them say, we might shut down Uber and Lyft in California by the end of August in 2020. COVID be damned. Right? So it's a very interesting year for all of us. And what's so interesting is because these guys are the giants of contractors versus employees, all the other platforms, Instacart, DoorDash, Grubhub, you name it, they are keeping their eyes open, wondering what the heck is going to happen next to us. Because we have people on our platforms that are all contractors, right? And if Lyft and Uber can't figure out a way to make this work within our state, chances are other states are going to fall in line. Because the state of California, we're a very big populist state, we're a democratic, we're a liberal state, so we pass more progressive liberal laws, so to speak, for the most part. And what that means is we have a very strong influence on how the rest of the United States govern the difference between contractor and employee. It's not the same everywhere, but we are already starting to see other states take action. For example, New Jersey just filed a lawsuit against Uber to claim back $650 million of back taxes because New Jersey believes that Uber is misclassifying their contractors. So even though California is the battleground for this whole issue right now, and it has been for a very long time, there are a lot of states keeping their eyes open, and Uber and Lyft, yeah, they're pretty damn scared because it's going to cost them a lot of money if all of a sudden for every Uber fare, they have to start paying up to 30% in just taxes and fees. They're going to lose so much money, and they're already still not making a profit today. This is going to have a very big impact on the gig economy. It's going to have a big impact for platforms where the consumer is on one side and the worker is on the other side and the company is right there in the middle. It'll also change my industry, the startup industry, and it's going to regulate how we look at employees and contractors. But the show's not over because there's a new ballot measure coming up in this election, and it's going to be a very big presidential election. So there's a ballot measure that these platforms are trying to put forward where they want to make some kind of generalized fund, generalized program, generalized insurance policy, healthcare policy for gig economy workers. So who knows, maybe by the end of 2020, even with COVID, with the economy crisis, with all the global warming effects that are happening, we might come out of this year with a whole new employment classification. We can have contractors, employees, and true gig economy workers. And our world will become more complex as it usually does once again. Thank you, lawyers. Ha! So for those of you that have your own small business or a side hustle where you have a small team of people working for you and they're contractors, because I get it. I have a lot of startups as clients. They cannot afford to hire employees, but they need help getting work done. Here's what you should know. When you hire an employee, just because your business is in California, what really matters is the place of where your employee is working. So we're in a virtual world right now. I have employees in other states, not just in California. And those employees are doing work in those states because they're virtual. So am I employing them in California or am I employing them in the state that they live in? Same thing with international employees. I have employees overseas too, helping me with just handling the marketing stuff, virtual assistants. Are they employees in California or are they employees in the country that they belong to? These are things that you gotta get squared away, because just because you have a strict employment law in California doesn't mean that it applies to everyone that works for you. You have to know the employment laws of the location where your employees are doing the work. And if the majority of the actual work being done is in that state that they live in, that's probably who governs. Now, keep in mind, California knows this, and they might say, no, sorry, it actually is anyone you hire because your business is in California and your customers might be in California. So we don't care if they're doing work elsewhere. The fact is they're doing work for customers in California. They're doing work in California, right? So you really have to look at your business. Do you have an online business? Is your startup a very small brick and mortar store, maybe somewhere in San Francisco or LA? Or do you have an e-commerce business that sells products all over the world and you've got employees all over the world? That is a very different dynamic when you're looking at, are they contractor or are they employee? Start there. Then the next thing you should do is, what is your traditional business? I own an e-commerce business. I sell these apparel goods. I use Shopify to run my business on the back end. I have fulfillment, and a part of my fulfillment team is some third-party service provider. Do they send you an invoice? Do they take your credit card, or are you giving them direct deposits? These are questions that you can show, look, they're treating themselves as an independent third party, not as a contractor, not as an employee. So this is something you should consider, is if they have their own entity set up, if they take on other customers, those are good people to work with because that will keep your costs low. But if you hire someone out of the blue, they don't have their own entity set up, they're working with you directly as a consultant, as most of my clients like to call them, and maybe they accept credit card, they set up a PayPal account or a Square account and you can pay that way. The problem is if they're doing like paralegal work, the traditional business that you have, or if you're a marketing company and you've hired them to do marketing, well, there's a gray line there. It looks like they're doing exactly what your business is. And the fact that you're not paying them as an employee and paying your taxes on them as an employee, that is going to put you in a very gray area. And you need to think about reorganizing your labor force a little bit more, where you might have to convert some people into employees. Now, I'm not an employment lawyer, and this law is not as simple as the ABC test. I hate that they called it the ABC test because there's so many more caveats. It's actually a pretty big bill in response to another court ruling that made the line between contractor and employment so fuzzy that nobody knew what to do. So I do have a lot of employment lawyers in my network. I can definitely help you, especially out here in California. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Yaasha Saba with you from Money Law. Make sure to subscribe if you like these kind of tidbits and you want to learn more. Also, don't forget to check out my LinkedIn, where I post a lot of videos like this, as well as videos around business law, estate planning, asset protection. Have a great day.